50 to 100 years ago, 13-year-olds looked like today's 25-year-olds. Just look at these clips of teenagers from back a few decades ago. It's almost unreal to believe that these guys are the same age as these people in today's society. And you'll probably ask the question, well, what changed? What can possibly change in that amount of time that's made 13-year-olds go from looking like 25-year-olds to looking like literal children? And I'm sure you've seen the videos on YouTube talking about, no, guys, it's just that they used to dress differently. That's why they used to dress differently, and that's why they look older, because that fashion is old to us because it's different. I genuinely believe that's bullshit, because look at me. I'm 15 years old. I wear the exact same clothes as anyone else in today's society wears, any other 15-year-old. Yet for some reason I look much older. You're gonna say, oh, it wouldn't be the same for me. I can't do that because I look so young. No, trust me, I used to look really young, and I'll pull up a photo of what I used to look like. And I guarantee no matter how young you look, no matter how much you got the little chubby cheeks, you can look older. So now you're probably dying to know why people used to look older and why I look older. Number one, they had more responsibility. Back then you could do a lot more as a 15-year-old, and you had a lot more responsibilities, and you had a lot more things to take care of. A 14-year-old used to probably take care of their parents, also work a job, do some other types of things, but they had more responsibility. There was more things they were responsible and accountable for, and they had to live up to that responsibility. In today's world, there's a lot of ways to back out of things, and it's pretty easy to not commit to anything because life's pretty easy. To be fair, back then life wasn't as easy as now, so there was just more responsibilities and things were harder. Number two, they weren't a dumbass playing video games in their house all day. They actually went outside and did stuff, got a lot of sunlight, which most likely increased their testosterone, which also made them look older. Number three, their testosterone was higher, obviously. Look at these guys. There's no way that this 15-year-old has the same amount of nanograms per deciliter as this 15-year-old in today's world. And frankly, the simple answer to explain why this all is happening is life wasn't as easy. We've gotten very, very comfortable with having everything being in arm's reach and having video games and having junk food and stuff. But although they might have had junk food a little bit back then, there wasn't as many easy backouts of certain things. Most of the time, if you made a commitment to something, it meant that you actually had to commit to that thing and you had to stay accountable. But young men aren't really accountable in today's society. They say, I want to get fit and I want to get a six-pack, I just don't want to go to the gym and put in any of the work. Bro, you literally see 13, 15, 16, 17-year-olds and their backpacks are bigger than them. Like, when I see some people who are my age, I'm genuinely confused because in my mind, I mean, I don't really look much older than any other 15-year-old because in my mind I'm 15, so I'm like, yeah, I look like a 15-year-old. But when I see what a 15-year-old looks like, I'm like, that's a 15-year-old? Like, it's honestly very, very crazy. But if we step back for a second, look at my life compared to that. I mean, alright, this is gonna sound like, oh, guys, look at my life and how much better I am. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to say, look at the activities I do compared to those kids. They get home and immediately hop on League of Legends or Minecraft and start playing for the rest of the day. I go to martial arts class, I work out, I make YouTube videos. I'm more responsible for making these YouTube videos. There's more pressure because I want to succeed with making these YouTube videos, and I'm still learning, I'm growing, I'm reading books. So why wouldn't I look older? Because one of the common things people say when they tell me I look older is, bro, you're so mature. So it might not even just be the looks, it's also the maturity. I can tell you with 100% certainty, I can go to anyone, tell them I'm 15 years old, and they'll say, bro, there's no way you're 15. At this point, I've heard it so many times, I'm just used to hearing it. So it all starts with maturity. I'm not a big fan of the whole law of attraction. If you just believe something will come to you, it will come to you stuff. But if your brain starts to think of you as an older person, what happens? Well, your body develops as your brain does. Because if I told you, think of winning the trophy, think of winning that big event that you want. Say you play a sport or something, think of winning. You start to get the excitement. If I say think of a dangerous person going to attack you, you start to get fear, you start to get hyped up, you start to get ready to fight. But if you act mature, your body will start to develop in a mature way. But Adam, the science says that it can't be possible. There's no way to increase your height, and you can't change your facial structure and start to look more mature. That just comes with aging. No, I truly believe that you can change how old you look. I made one guide in the past talking about how to look older, and I'm gonna make another one that's even more in-depth coming up in the future. So make sure you go click on the subscribe and post notification button so you don't miss that. But look around you. These men are kids. They're not even men. When they wake up, do you think they start doing push-ups? Do you think they start doing any type of exercise? Do you think they journal? Do you think they read? No, they wake up and they're like, oh, let me check my Instagram and Snapchat notifications, and then they scroll for a little bit. They jack off 10 times a day. Obviously they're gonna look young. Obviously you're gonna look young if you do these things. So forget all the scientific people that tell you you can't change how old you look. Look at me as an example. You can change how old you look. Think of what the average kid eats. High carbs, sugary, processed food, and barely any protein. But think of what the average kid back then would probably eat. Yeah, I'm sure there was still a lot of sweets and stuff, but Adam, there was actually Coca-Cola and stuff, so they would drink a lot of that. Maybe, but they probably had a lot more protein and they had a lot more vitamins than you do today. It's easy to blame stuff on genetics, but there's actually a lot of things you can change that you just don't want to change. You can change your diet, you can change how accountable you are, you can go to the gym, you can build an attractive physique, but you don't. Think of what you were doing before you clicked on this video. You were scrolling on YouTube. Should you be scrolling on YouTube right now, or is there something more important that you could probably be doing? But I've gotten all my work done, Adam. Alright, sounds good. Go do some push-ups. Go for a run. Do some type of exercise. It's honestly not that hard to look older. And when I hear people tell me that, oh, I'm so lucky and I'm so rare and it would be impossible for another person to look as old as me at my age, I just laugh because it's genuinely not hard to look older. And just actually think and take some responsibility right now and be like, oh fuck, I've been babied my whole life. These motherfuckers have been babying me. You get babied by your parents. You get babied by every single person. You've probably never been in a fight or gotten punched in the nose before. You're soft. You're weak. You are at the same maturity of someone who was 8 years old maybe a few decades ago. It wasn't just some coincidence that once I started to take responsibility for my physique and take responsibility for improving my life, that I magically just started to grow some facial hair and magically, hey boys, yeah, flex on you boys, you can't grow some facial hair. And let's say your genetics are completely stacked against you. Like, no, Adam, it wouldn't possibly work for me. My genetics are too stacked. I'm 5'4" and I just won't ever grow. Fair enough, but what's stopping you from acting more mature? I mean, a lot of people who are maybe 25, 30 don't even look that old. They've just been through more life experiences. That's why you see them as older. So if you act more mature, well, people will probably start to think of you as older. You could literally look like you're not even that old, but if you act in a very mature way, you stand with straight posture, you give people a good handshake when you meet them, people will at least think of you as 3 to 5 years older, maybe even more depending on what you look like. So a lot of men who tell me the excuse of like, no, it wouldn't work for me, you're just lucky because of your genetics, so it wouldn't work for me too if I tried to do the same things you do. Why don't you just act more mature then? Fair enough, you won't look as old as me at my age because I've been doing this for a few years, but why can't you just act more mature? It honestly takes maybe a month of programming your brain to start acting more mature, and people start to realize it. Hope this video helped you, bro. Be a doer, not a thinker. See ya.